Hello and welcome to Darian's Library, where we do our best to learn the important and unimportant. Today we will delve into the fictional, where ghosts come out to play and we aren't afraid of them. Hey, Editor Darian here. I just wanted to let you know that this video will actually be one of 3 parts. In order to get it past the YouTube restrictions, I actually had to split the video into 3. There won't be any to be continued or anything fancy between the parts. It'll just kind of end. There will be a link in the description, get you to the next video. So just be mindful of that. Alright, thank you very much, and I hope you enjoy the video. By this, I of course am referring to Ghostbusters 1984, the comedy thriller classic which brought to us a masterclass in how we can take a seemingly stupid idea and turn it into something truly wonderful. I have enjoyed Ghostbusters since I was a kid. Of course, the bathtub scene in the second one. Made me terrified and never want to take a bath ever again. Between that visual and the Water on Mars episode of Doctor Who,
Step away from him.
I can help, I promise, I can help. Just leave that man alone. Andy, I'm asking you to take your hand away from him and listen to me.
I was frankly terrified of any and all water. Before I dive into this analysis, I want to warn you that it's a bit of a mess. My thought process is all over the place and the script is a bit stream of consciousness. Let's just say Virginia Woolf would be proud. A lot of what I have to say is opinions.
Daddy, chill.
What the hell is even that?
But I try and back it up with comparisons and evidence from the film. Don't take this video too seriously though. It's just a way for me to talk about Ghostbusters and geek out about storytelling. I also apologize for any audio issues. I'm new to this, and so, I don't know, I feel like it'll be a balance between me sounding like an old school radio show host and screaming my lungs out and you having to listen to that. So I apologize for any audio issues, just try to work with me. We'll get there. Anyway, today we are talking about the original Ghostbusters, the one that started it all. I have always been infatuated with the original Ghostbusters, and it is not a normal movie. But first, pause. Before I dive in, I want you to take a look at a scene real quick, and think about the characterization. We're gonna come back to it. For context, this scene occurs near the end of the rising action, and acts as the entry into the dark night of the soul for the Ghostbusters. The dark night of the soul is the moment in a story in which things couldn't get any worse for the characters. Things at this point are usually reaching a fever pitch, and the Dark Night of the Soul acts as a means for the final push, rise to the climax. If you somehow haven't seen the movie, go watch it right now. What are you doing here? Go. I'll wait. Did you watch it? Are you back? Okay, but if you refuse to watch it, or if it's been a while, I will sum it up what has happened so far in the film. Up to this point, the characters have been catching ghosts and being rather successful in regard to that. We move into seeing the Ghostbusters constantly busting. Don't start. A member of the EPA, Walter Peck, comes to ask to inspect the Ghostbusters containment system, and Venkman, ever the wise ass, denies him somewhat brashly. They have been busy, concerningly so, and Spangler's character mentions their unit is near capacity.
Tell him about the Twinkie.
What about the Twinkie?
Venkman, having successfully swooned Dana Barrett, goes to meet her, only to find she is possessed. Spangler, likewise, is given Louis Tully, who is also possessed and is brought in by a police officer. The Ghostbusters acknowledge that these two need to be separated, and that is where this scene picks up. The re-arrival of Walter Peck. Editing Darian here. Originally, I was going to show the scene, but I couldn't get it through the YouTube restrictions. So, instead, you're just going to have to find it yourself, if you can, and if not, don't worry about it. It's pretty easy to find if you look up Ghostbusters Containment, but I'll go into more detail about the scene itself later, and so if you can't find it, it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it definitely helps with context and setting the, well, scene, pun intended, for the rest of the video. Alright, bye now. So, as I said before, I have always been obsessed with the original Ghostbusters because it is not a normal movie. What I mean by this is that Ghostbusters breaks the laws of storytelling. The scene I just showed you acts as a culmination in all the ways they broke the laws, but it still works to perfection. Why? Well, I will get to that. I want to state, of course, I am no master of storytelling, but rather a beginner, a journeyman attempting to educate himself in the hopes that maybe, just maybe, my stories won't be so trash. However, there are a few things even I can point out as strange, yet exceptional within the original movie. For starters, the movie doesn't use character development. Wait, let me explain. The characters at the start are the same characters they are at the end. They are what you'd call flat characters. In most stories, a character like Venkman, the sex fiend who obsesses and objectifies women, would learn his lesson and by the end would have a change of heart.
And then she threw me out of her life. She thought I was a creep. She thought I was a geek, and she probably wasn't the first.
You are so odd.
But he doesn't. He essentially is the same man he started the film as, yet he still gets the girl. In most stories, his lack of character development would see him being punished. Often, this character would act as the villain. Another character is compared to for having changed, like the protagonist, for instance. An example of this would be Beauty and the Beast. Venkman is Gaston, and yet he is treated in the end as if he was the Beast, but he's really not by the film standards. Stantz is a careless, ignorant, and gullible Ghostbuster, who at the beginning is pushed into selling his parents' home so that the Ghostbusters can afford to start their operation.
My parents left me that house. I was born there.
In the end, does he change his gullible ways, growing to be brave and wise like Neville Longbottom? No, he is the reason the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man is summoned.
It's the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man.
Spangler is a slightly off-putting nerd who at the start of the movie is seen checking a desk for abnormal activity. And by the end of the movie, what is he doing? Checking Tully for abnormalities and asking for a brain sample after Gozer has already been vanquished.
I'd like to get a sample of your brain tissue.
Okay.
Finally, Zed Moore, who joins the movie midway to act as the everyday man who in many ways acts as the villain for the audience. But that is a video for another day.
If there's a steady paycheck in it, I'll believe anything you say.
He is still the everyday man by the end of the film.
I'm Winston Zeddemore, Your Honor. Look, I've only been with the company for a couple of weeks, but I gotta tell you, these things are real. Since I joined these men, I have seen shit that'll turn you white.
His final line, and the final line of the film, being,
I love this town!
a burst of his everyday New Yorker working man energy. Sure, you could make the argument that Venkman is changed by Dana Barrett's character, but I am of the belief that that is just an argument. With most story arcs, while the semantics of them can be argued, their existence is usually cut and dry. So, an average person would never argue that Neville Longbottom,
Doesn't matter that Harry's gone.
Stand down, Neville.
People die every day.
or the Beast,
I haven't danced in years. I'd almost forgotten the feeling.
are the same people they were at the start of the story, as they are by the end. This makes Ghostbusters a strange film from a writing standpoint, as it shouldn't work.
Ghosts. They scare the pants off me. The polyester pants off me.
I mean, it violates one of the central pillars of storytelling. Character development is non-existent, and yet most people, myself included until my brother pointed it out to me a few years ago, would never notice. That moment that I pointed to in the containment scene should be where we see the largest shift in character for the protagonist, and yet it is where they are the most blatant with their character archetypes. More on this later.